Welcome to Speak English with Cath. I'm very happy you're here today. Today, we're going to talk about something that almost every English learner experiences, that sudden moment when someone asks you a question and your mind goes completely blank. You understand the question, you know you have learned the words before, but somehow you freeze.
Yes, that happens to me all the time. Sometimes someone asks me a simple question like, "What do you think about this?" And suddenly I feel nervous. My brain just stops working.
That's very normal, Lester, and today we're going to help you feel more calm and more ready in those moments. Because the truth is, it's not your English level that's the problem, it's how you handle the moment.
So it's more about reaction, not just vocabulary.
Exactly. When someone asks you an unexpected question, your brain does three things very fast. It tries to understand, it tries to translate, and it tries to answer all at the same time. That's why you feel pressure.
Yes, that pressure feels very strong.
And when you feel pressure, your brain becomes slow. So today, I'll show you how to slow down the moment so your brain can catch up. Let's start with a real-life situation. Imagine you are at work. Your colleague suddenly asks you, "So what do you think about the new project?" You were not ready for this question.
Oh no, I already feel nervous.
Exactly. Now, tell me honestly, what would you do?
I think I would say, uh... And then maybe I try to answer quickly, but my sentence is not clear.
Yes, that's what many learners do. They try to answer too fast. But here is the first important idea. You do not need to answer immediately.
Really? But won't it feel awkward?
Not at all. In fact, native speakers also take time to think. The difference is they use small thinking phrases.
Thinking phrases?
Yes, these are simple sentences that give you time. For example, that's a good question. Let me think about that. Interesting, I haven't thought about it before. These phrases are very powerful.
Oh, so instead of silence, I can speak something simple first.
Exactly. You are not answering yet. You're just creating space for your brain. Let's practice this together. I'll ask you a question. You don't answer immediately. You use a thinking phrase first. Ready?
Okay, I'll try.
What do you usually do on weekends?
That's a good question. I usually spend time with my family, and sometimes I watch movies.
That was perfect. Did you notice something?
Yes, I felt more relaxed.
Exactly, because you gave yourself time. Now let's look at another situation. You are talking to someone new, maybe at an event or even online, and they suddenly ask you, "Why are you learning English?"
That question feels a bit personal.
Yes, and sometimes personal questions feel harder. So again, don't rush. You can say, "Well, that's an interesting question," or "Let me think for a second." Then you answer slowly.
I see. But what if I really don't know how to answer?
That's a very important question because sometimes the problem is not fear, the problem is you don't have a clear idea, and that's okay. You can be honest.
Really?
Yes, you can say, "I'm not sure, but I think," or "I've never thought about it, but maybe." These phrases are very natural.
Oh, so I don't need a perfect answer.
Exactly, you just need a real answer. Kath, let's try a small role play. I'll be the person asking questions. You respond naturally using what we learned.
Okay, I'm ready.
Why do you enjoy learning English?
Let me think. I think I enjoy it because it helps me communicate with more people, and also I feel more confident when I understand others.
That was very natural. Now, another question. What is something difficult about learning English?
That's a good question. I think speaking is the most difficult part, especially when I feel nervous or when people speak fast.
Beautiful answer. You see, Lester, you didn't panic.
Yes, I feel more relaxed when I use those phrases.
And that's the key. Now let's go a little deeper. Sometimes unexpected questions are not just about language, they're emotional. For example, someone asks, "Why are you so quiet?"
Oh, I don't like that question.
Yes, many people don't. And when you hear that, you may feel uncomfortable, so your brain becomes even slower.
Yes, I feel pressure and maybe a little embarrassed.
That's very natural. In this situation, you need two things: calm words and a calm mindset. You can simply answer, "I'm just listening," or "I like to think before I speak."
Oh, that sounds confident.
Yes, simple but strong. Kath, let's try that situation together. I'll ask you the question. Why are you so quiet?
I'm just listening and trying to understand everything.
That's excellent. You didn't panic. You didn't apologize too much. You just answered calmly.
I like that. It feels more confident.
Because confidence is not about speaking fast, it's about speaking calmly. Now I want to introduce a very useful habit. When you practice English, don't only practice answers, practice reaction phrases.
Reaction phrases.
Yes, these are the first words you say when someone speaks to you. For example, "Oh, really? That's interesting. I see. Hmm." These small phrases make conversations feel natural, and they give your brain time.
Ah, so they're like small bridges.
Exactly. They connect the question to your answer. Let's do a quick practice. I'll say something, you react first, then answer.
Okay.
I just started learning Japanese.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Why did you choose Japanese?
Perfect. You didn't freeze. You stayed in the conversation.
Yes, I felt more relaxed.
And that's the key. Now, before we continue, I want you to remember something very important. Freezing is not a language problem. It's a fear of making mistakes.
Yes, that feels true.
But here's the truth. People are not judging you as much as you think. They're just having a conversation.
That makes me feel a bit better.
Good, because when you relax your mind, your English becomes clearer. Now, let's explore one more situation. You are in a group conversation. Someone suddenly asks you, "What do you think?" Everyone is looking at you.
Oh, that's the worst moment.
Yes, it can feel intense. So what can you do? First, breathe. Second, use a thinking phrase. For example, "Well, I think," or "From my experience." Then give a simple answer.
So I don't need a long answer?
Not at all. Short and clear is better than long and confusing. Let's practice this moment. We're in a group. I ask you, "What do you think about online learning?"
Well, I think it's very convenient because people can learn from anywhere. But sometimes it feels less interactive.
That was excellent. Simple, clear, natural.
I feel more confident already.
And that's wonderful to hear, and we're just getting started. Now let's go a little deeper into these moments. Because sometimes, Lester, the question is not just unexpected, it's also fast. Someone speaks quickly, maybe with a different accent, and you only understand part of the question. What happens to you in that moment?
Honestly, I panic. I catch maybe one or two words, but not the full question, and I feel embarrassed to ask again.
Gentle tone. Yes, this is very common. But here's something important you need to remember. You are allowed to ask people to repeat.
I know that, but it still feels uncomfortable.
I understand. But let's change how you think about it. When you ask someone to repeat, you are not showing weakness. You are showing that you care about understanding.
That's a nice way to see it.
And if you don't ask, you may answer the wrong question.
Yes, I've done that before.
We all have. So let's practice some simple, natural ways to ask again. You can say, "Sorry, could you repeat that?" Or, "Sorry, I didn't catch that." Or even, "Could you say that a bit slower?" These are very normal.
They sound simple, but very useful.
Exactly. Let's practice. I'll say something quickly. You respond by asking me to repeat. Ready?
Ready?
So, what do you think about the new system we introduced last week?
Sorry, could you repeat that a bit slower?
Perfect. Now again. Do you think it's better to work in a team or alone when you have a deadline?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you say it again?
Very natural. You stayed calm. You didn't freeze. Now let's move to another situation. Sometimes you understand the question, but your answer feels too short. For example, someone asks, "Did you enjoy the movie?" And you answer, "Yes."
Yes, I do that a lot.
And then the conversation stops.
Exactly. It becomes awkward.
So here's the next idea. Always add a little more. Not too much, just one extra sentence.
Like what?
For example, "Yes, I really enjoyed it. The story was very interesting." Or, "Yes, it was good. I especially liked the ending."
Oh, that sounds much better.
Yes, it shows interest and it keeps the conversation going. Let's practice expanding answers. I'll ask you simple questions. You answer with at least 2 sentences.
Okay, I'll try.
Do you like coffee?
Yes, I like coffee. I usually drink it in the morning to feel more awake.
Very nice. Next question. What kind of music do you like?
I like pop music. It helps me relax and I enjoy the rhythm.
Excellent. You see, Lester, you didn't need difficult words.
Yes, it feels simple and natural.
And that's exactly what we want. Now let's talk about a more challenging moment. Sometimes people ask you a question and you don't fully understand the meaning, not because of speed, but because of vocabulary.
Yes, that happens too.
For example, someone asks, "What's your biggest challenge at work?" And maybe you don't understand the word challenge.
Yes, then I feel stuck.
So here's what you can do. You can ask for clarification. For example, "Sorry, what do you mean by challenge?" Or, "Do you mean something difficult?"
Oh, so I can check the meaning.
Exactly. This is a very powerful skill because communication is not just speaking, it's also checking understanding. Let's practice this together. I'll ask a question with a difficult word. You ask me to explain.
Okay.
What motivates you to keep learning English?
Sorry, what does motivate mean?
It means what makes you want to continue.
Ah, I see. Then I think my motivation is to communicate better with people.
That was perfect. You didn't stop the conversation. You continued it.
Yes, I feel more in control.
Now let's combine everything we've learned so far. I'll give you a more natural, longer conversation. You will use a thinking phrase, ask for repetition if needed, and give a slightly longer answer.
Okay, I'm a bit nervous, but I'll try.
That's completely okay. Here we go. So, what do you usually do after work and how do you relax?
That's a good question. After work, I usually go home and rest for a while. Then I watch videos or listen to music to relax.
Nice. Now I'll speak a bit faster. And do you think it's important to have hobbies during the week or only on weekends?
Sorry, could you repeat that a bit slower?
Of course. Do you think it's important to have hobbies during the week?
Ah, I see. Yes, I think it's important because hobbies help reduce stress even during busy days.
Excellent. Now one more. What inspires you to try new things? Now, Lester, let's bring everything together in a more natural way. Because in real life, conversations are not just one question, they are a flow. Sometimes easy, sometimes unexpected, sometimes emotional. And your goal is not to control everything. Your goal is to stay present and respond calmly.
I like that idea. Not control, just stay present.
Exactly. So now we're going to do a longer role play. This will feel like a real conversation. Some questions will be easy, some will be unexpected, some may feel a little uncomfortable, and you will use everything you've learned.
Okay, I'm ready. Maybe a little nervous, but ready.
That's perfect. Let's begin. Hey, Lester, how was your weekend?
It was good. I spent some time with my family and I also watched a movie.
Nice. What kind of movie did you watch?
Let me think. It was an action movie. I really liked it because the story was exciting.
That sounds fun. So tell me, what do you usually do to relax after a busy day?
That's a good question. I usually listen to music or just rest at home. Sometimes I go for a short walk to clear my mind.
I like that. Now, let me ask you something a bit different. Why do you think some people feel nervous speaking English?
I think they feel nervous because they are afraid of making mistakes, and maybe they worry about what other people think.
That's very true. And do you feel that way sometimes?
Yeah, I do, especially when someone asks me a question suddenly.
I understand. So, what do you do now when that happens?
Let me think. Now I try to pause first and use a simple phrase like, "That's a good question." Then I answer slowly.
That's a big improvement. Now I'm going to ask you something a little more challenging. What is one thing you want to improve about your English this year?
I think I want to improve my speaking confidence. I want to feel more relaxed when I talk to people.
That's a great goal. And how are you planning to do that?
Well, I think I will practice speaking more often, and I will try not to be afraid of making mistakes.
That's a strong plan. Now let's make it a little more real. Imagine I speak a bit fast. So, do you think it's better to learn English by yourself or with others, and why?
Sorry, could you repeat that a bit slower?
Of course. Do you think it's better to learn English alone or with others?
Ah, I see. I think learning with other people is better because you can practice speaking and get feedback.
Excellent. You handled that perfectly. Now, one more situation. Imagine I ask something a little uncomfortable. Why are you still not confident in English?
That's an interesting question. I think I'm still not confident because I don't practice enough, but I'm trying to improve step by step.
That was honest and strong. You didn't avoid the question, you answered it calmly.
I feel different now. I don't feel as scared of questions anymore.
And that is the transformation we want. Before we finish today, I want to give you something very simple to remember. When someone asks you a question in English, you don't need to be fast, you don't need to be perfect, you just need to pause, use a simple phrase, and answer in your own way.
That feels much easier than before.
Yes, because English is not a test, it's a conversation. Let's do one final quick practice together. I'll ask you 3 questions. Answer them naturally. Ready?
Ready.
What do you enjoy doing in your free time?
I enjoy watching movies and listening to music. It helps me relax after a long day.
What is something new you want to try?
That's a good question. I think I want to try learning a new language, maybe Japanese.
And last one, what do you do when you feel nervous speaking English?
Now I try to stay calm and take a deep breath. Then I use simple words and speak slowly.
That was beautiful, Lester. Simple, clear, and confident. And to everyone listening today, if you've ever felt nervous, if your mind has ever gone blank, if you've ever felt stuck in a conversation, you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not stuck forever. Every time you practice staying calm, every time you answer, even a little, you are improving.
Yes, I really feel that now.
So the next time someone asks you a question, don't run away from the moment. Stay in it, breathe, and speak, even if it's simple, because simple English is powerful English.
I like that.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and be kind to yourself as you learn.
See you next time.
Take care and keep going.